YouTubers. How's it doing out there, all my homies? Everybody out there, you alright? No one watching. We're in the tea time zone. Time check. It's 1832. 1832 on the 2nd of August, Sunday the 2nd of August, 2020. Okay, we're going out live, but I'm not like, people don't have to join me on this live stream, it's okay, you know, but like, it was good last night, it was quite cool. We got one watching, somebody's watching, alright, how's it going out there, you alright? As promised, a little talk about dreams and visions, right folks? I thought it'd be talk about a crazy dream I had quite a while ago. I mean, I've got tons of dreams and visions to talk about, guys, but I'm not like, this has been going on for years though, folks. This isn't all just happened like last week or something ago. I had a dream and a vision. This is over the last 20 years or so, these things, right? And we're going to go back to a date. I can trace the date I had this dream. I keep dream journals, right, folks? I actually write dream journals, right? Now, I didn't learn about dream journals as I got older and, reading books about shamanism and stuff like that, right? I've read those kinds of books. I've studied that kind of subject matter. Very interesting. By the way, can everyone hear me? Well, everyone. There's one person watching. And my microphone's functioning. And it's early. It's quite early, so I can talk loudly and I don't care about the neighbours. Hey, the neighbours can talk. Alright, it's late, so they can't complain. No one can complain about me. Right? So we've got 2 people watching. You don't have to identify yourselves if you don't want to, but it's up to yourselves. It's okay. It's cool. But I hope you can hear me out there. Everything cool. Here's my talk today. It's about dreams and visions, right, folks? And we know we're coming to a time in this world where a lot of people, right? A lot of people who are, we'd say, not faithful, have no idea about God, whatever, right? I'm not going to say believers or part of this or part of that. I'm not going to label anyone, right? But we're coming to that time in the Bible, right, folks, when it's said in the scriptures, right? And before we go any further, right, King James, everyone says King James Version, King James Version. King James was a rich king with loads of money. I mean, it's rumoured he had rent boys and all kinds of strange stuff in his life, you know what I mean? So people need to stop saying the King James Version, right? But by all means, study that book. If that's the best version available, right? Say the scriptures, say the words of the prophets, say the words of God, or God's word. Say whatever you want, but don't say. Everyone's got to get used to getting rid of saying King James, King, because he gets too much credence. He was a king, and he intended keeping those books all to himself and sharing it amongst rich people and hooray Henrys and stuff. They were the only people who were going to get wind of the Bible, right? Until, people managed to get hold of it and started reprinting it and stuff, you know what I mean? Right? King James didn't write that Bible. He didn't write a single word in it, you know what I mean? The guy gets too much credit. So everyone, everyone say in your heart, King James is an asshole. Do you know what I mean? Because he is. He's an asshole. He's got nothing to do with anything to do with God. Do you know what I mean? Right? But anyway, we're coming to that point in the Bible, right? And I don't want to get religious. There's 3 watching now. There's 3 watching. I don't want to get religious and all that business, right? You know what I mean? But we're coming to the time we all should sense, what the Bible calls the birth pangs, the labour pangs or whatever. The contractions or whatever. That like something's happening to the earth. It's like heaving, ready to give birth, kind of thing. Do you understand? If you think of the earth as one big living entity, and it's somehow going to give birth or something. I don't know. Something crazy is going to happen, right? Birth pangs and that, like, right? We can sense something happening. It's building up, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's getting hot and clammy. It's getting freezing cold in the winter. There's crazy stuff with the weather, right? So we're coming to that time, right, folks, in Revelation, right, where it says men and women who are not essentially believers. They might not even have any faith whatsoever. They haven't even read a Bible, right? They wouldn't know that silly little man King James and his silly little fluffy costumes and his fluffy collar around his neck and his nice little bows on his shoes. Have you ever seen a picture? Check out a picture. Yeah, I can actually show you, actually, right? Let's do, before we go any further, let's share a photograph, right? I'll share a photograph. I want to show you. You've got to see this to believe this, right? Anyone who do you think anyone sensible who knew God or knew anything about, they might have the scriptures and they know all about it, right? But it doesn't make them, it doesn't give them any credence, does it? It doesn't give them any credit, if you know what I mean, right? Now, where can I find this picture? Let's see. I assume I'm still on the screen. You know, nothing's obscure on the screen yet. It's okay. I'm still on the screen, right? Now, what are we looking for? What are we looking for, Bruce? What are we looking for? Brucey. Looking for a picture. Right. Pictures. Oh, right, pictures, all new from Asus, right? Let me find it. Come on, Bruce. Come on. Pictures. I think this is it. No, it's the wrong one. No. Just bear with me, folks. I mean, I'll try and be as quick as I can with this, and I'll try and get this picture, show you some little mad things. Various downloaded pictures, yeah, right? Let's see. I hope it's here. But you've got to see this, guys. You know, I'm not being funny to people who prefer the King James Bible. We say I don't even want to say it anymore, you know what I mean? I don't even want to say the King James Bible anymore, you know what I'm saying? Like, here we go. Let's look at a couple of pictures, right? Right, okay. Right, okay, shrink the screen. Let me get my... let's just shrink my head. Let's go back to a shrinking head. Right. Okay, I'm going to shrink my head now. Right, everyone. So I'm sorry. Help me. Alright, so shrink my head there, right. Let's get a picture up for you all to see, right. I'll just check the imagery. We've got 4 watching at the moment. Yeah, this is a kind of biblical thing, like this is kind of like about dreams and visions, right, folks? If anyone makes any comments and I don't see them, you've got to bear with me. I might not, my page is scrolled down, so I'm not like, you know, not being weird or anything and ignoring anyone. Okay, now you should be seeing this picture now. It should be coming up now, right? Would you buy a second-hand car off this man? Right. Now, look at it. Do you think anybody who understood God or scriptures or had anything to do with the real Jesus, right, guys? Do you think any of them would dress like that? Right. We've only got 2 watching now, right? We've gone back to 2. All right. So I'll do a zoom in, like, so you can see what I'm saying. Like, let's go right down. Let's start with the shoes. Right. Let's start with the shoes. Right. Look at that. Do you think anyone that wore shoes like that would have anything to do with the real Jesus or God, guys? Let you just contemplate on that one, like, for a second, right? Right. Right, any man that wears a pair of shoes like that, mate, ain't getting past my door, I'm telling you that for nothing, do you know what I mean? Right, look at his pantaloons, look at the pantaloons, mate. Real silk, of course, lovely pantaloons, them, mate. Love them pantaloons. Look at them pantaloons, mate. Look, he's got his orb there, right? There's his orb, which represents a planet Earth, by the way, right? And he's got his scepter there, like, which is like, yeah, I'm the king, yes, I'm the king, but... Anyone that wears clothes like that, mate, I don't care what anyone says, right? And look at his face, man. He looks familiar and I can't place it. Like, he's got a familiar face, like someone I knew recently, you know what I mean? And they make more emphasis. Look at the thing round his neck. I take it that's some kind of like, you know, like that's like the pages of the Bible, like a fine lace, you know what I mean? Or even paper, but it's probably lace, isn't it, right? And I take it that represents his, like, head. peeking through the pages of the Bible going, yeah, I'm the authority and I know what you should be reading. You should do what I say. You know, like, it's the Sabbath. You can't do nothing on the Sabbath. No, his face, it looks familiar to me, mate, you know what I mean? But he was obviously a snob. He was obviously quite wealthy, right? Not being dissing him as a person, right? But I don't care what you say, I'm a common man, right? Stuff like this means nothing to me. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean nothing to God neither. You know, they want to wake up and realise that, you know, King James, if you're watching, mate, wake up, realise God doesn't love you, mate. You just had enough money to get hold of the scriptures, all right? So we should change it to, you should be saying, the scriptures, right? The scriptures, right? Another little picture I'll show you. I mean, come on, man. Anyone who dresses like that, would you buy a second-hand car off anyone? You know, if he walked up to you, if he knocked on your door and he was selling you a Hoover or something, or a vacuum cleaner, or, I don't know, double glazing and that, like, what would you say to him, mate? I mean, would you wear them clothes? You know, would you dress like that? You know, I just thank the Lord for one thing, mate, that I was never seen in history and painted dressed like that, you know. You know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Oh, I closed it down. Why did it do that, man? I didn't mean to do that. Oh, well, I can do this, can't I? I can just go like, right, I can go here like there, right. There we go. Right, okay. Now, why, oh. And here's another favourite picture. Anyone recognise this lady? This beautiful lady? Oh, she's my favourite little Nazi here, mate. Oh, man. Concrete wellies, guaranteed. What a beautiful... Anyone recognise her, you know what I mean? The bitch of... What was it? Bitch of Buchenhausen or whatever, like, you know. Horrible, horrible woman. One of the most evil women that ever lived. There's Noddy talking to the plod. It's picture time today, folks. Look. Noddy and Mr. Ploddy. He's like, there's some dealer down the road selling some weed. And he's like, oh, thank you for telling me, Noddy. I'll get there right away. Right, and this is one of my favourites, mate. Look at this for the picture, man. You know, I could have like an ounce of gold or something and the whole world will start doing me head and like, you know, saying like, has Bruce got an ounce of gold? Oh, you know, it's ridiculous, man. Look at this. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you want to go knock on her door and ask her about them, like, you know? I mean, what's the point of her going there? She knows they're there. She knows what they are. Why be photographed amongst it all, right? But that's your King James of the future, isn't it? If you know what I mean? That's King James, isn't it? If you don't say it about, like, today's version, like... I'm sounding like a... Where are we supposed to be going anyway here? Right. Okay. Look at this, though. Hey, Black Sabbath. Any of you like listening to Black Sabbath? Look at this for the picture. You know, what a beautiful little picture, like. Do you get me, like? Talk about creating demons, mate. How can anyone want to listen to Black Sabbath with pictures like that on the covers, like? I've got lots more of this, mate. I could show you loads of things, you know, as if to say, like, you know, people need to wake up and grow up and realise what they're part of, like, and, you know, wake up and smell the coffee, like. There's a couple of other things I want to talk about later on. Like, I've got lots of stuff to talk about, right, guys? Like I say, I'm catching up on my speeches. I'm catching up on the, you know, where it's what people want to see on YouTube, isn't it? They want to see me talk about stuff. So we're going to talk about stuff. And a big thing I'd like to talk about is, at the moment, let's get me back to me full-size screen, is a dream, yeah, right? I want to talk about a dream. I want to talk about dreams and visions, right? Because we are coming to the time, get back to the point, we're coming to the time, right, guys, where lots of people, right, folks, even if they haven't read Bibles, they're not interested in any of that business, they don't go to church, right? If you're righteous or you're good, right, you know, if you're a good soul, you're going to have dreams and visions that are going to blow your mind, guys, you understand? And women, you know what I mean? A lot of people are going to be having dreams and visions that they didn't expect, right? I'm telling you that in advance. That's what's coming next, right, guys? The big wake-up, right? It's already happened to me. It happened to me years ago. I don't need any of that now. I know what's around the corner already, right? But I went through a period myself of having dreams and visions, and I didn't understand where they were coming from because I hadn't read a Bible, right, folks? You know, when you read the Bible first and you read those words and it says there'll be a time when men and women will have dreams and visions and, Your sons and daughters will dream dreams and have visions. And at the end of it, if anyone still does not believe in God, or someone, the word belief is getting like kind of a bit of a, like stick, isn't it? Like, so anyone who doesn't trust or understand God after they've had the visions and the dreams or whatever it is that's going to blow the mind, if they still insist that that these things aren't real, they're going to be left behind. Do you understand, right? And that's what's coming next, right, folks, right? So a lot of folks, I don't know who you are, whether you believe or not, right, you might be susceptible to some amazing visions and dreams very soon, right? And I'm going to talk about a dream. I used to keep dream journals, right? Well, I keep dream journals now, right? And I've got dreams going back documented to, oh man, quite a few books filled with dreams, guys, and they're very interesting, right? Now, you might have seen a video on my channel. It's called Are Dreams Real or something, and it's about when I had a dream about something, and 10 years later it actually happened for real, exactly 10 years to the day, right? It's on my channel. I won't go into it now. It's there. It's called Are Dreams Real or something, and it's very interesting, right? And I show people that when you have a dream, you're seeing 10 years ahead, right? 10 years. That's assuming you've got your soul and your priorities right and everything, or whatever. Your eye isn't diminished and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay. Now, I learned about documenting dreams. I never learned about documenting dreams from any books or anything. I didn't read anything. I discovered it by accident, right, guys? It was an accident, right? And what I used to do is I used to keep a diary. I used to keep a diary every year, right? And my diaries were so deep, so detailed. I would write, what I had for tea, I had beans on toast, went to the park, played football. I'd write everything, even though it was boring, even though it was crap, there was nothing exciting to write about, right? I used to keep these diaries, right? And in amongst my diaries, I used to have this part called LND, Last Night's Dream, right? Whereby if I woke up the next day and I'd had an amazing dream, I'd write it down in my diaries as well. My diaries were saying what I was doing in everyday life. But I was accidentally keeping a dream journal without realising it, right, folks? This is going back to 1982 or something when I started keeping a diary, right? And don't get me wrong, they've all gone now, but the information, my diaries especially, it's all in my head, all my dreams and that, like, you know what I mean? It goes back a long time, guys, right? So by accident, that's how I discovered the 10 years after factor. By accident, I wrote a particular dream down in 1984 in one of my diaries, right? 1994, 10 years later, to the day, that dream materialised. And I seen it happening 10 years later, exactly. So I know dreams are real, and they're mixed up with mishmash of all kinds of like psychedelic stuff, and it depends on the individual, depends on what you pick up in the world and stuff, right, folks? So I learned about the dream journal thing by myself. No one taught me. I didn't learn about, no one taught me anything, right? And accidentally I found out this, like, wow, I had a dream 10 years ago, and in 1994 I was seeing it happen, right? So I learned a brilliant, it's like a major discovery for me, that, folks, right? Then a little bit later on down the line, I was reading books about, the Don Juan books about the Mexican Indian Don Juan, right? The Carlos Castaneda books, right? And in that book, Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan the Indian tells him, keep a dream journal, you know what I mean? He advises him to keep a dream journal. And I was like, wow, I'm already wise to that, like, because I've been doing it all along, and I found a lot of things out by doing it by accident, right? So anyway, Don Juan tells you to keep a dream journal, doesn't he, right? And I was like into that stuff. I read them books and I loved it, right? I actually loved it. I didn't find any faults in or anything bad or sorcery and all that kind of stuff. No, I just said warriors and indigenous people using their own defence mechanisms to make sure that Captain Custard can't trample all over the teepees anymore, you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. You've got to have a defence mechanism, haven't you, right? You tell enough people that they're not allowed to live like that. It's like telling them to disarm, isn't it, and put down the weapons, and they can't fight if someone attacks them or tries to take them over. Let the indigenous people use whatever methods they need to defend themselves, whether it's spears, voodoo, whatever it is, even sorcery, if they're going to be using it to defend themselves, right, folks? You understand that, like, that principle, what I'm saying, right? Indigenous people, right? So anyway, I was already onto the dream journal thing, right? And then, because I read it in Don Juan, I thought, okay, let's keep, instead of it mixing them with my diaries, let's keep dream journals, and there's no everyday life in them. There's no everyday activity in them. You know, like I had me tea, I went to play football, played tennis, whatever. You know, went to the college, this, that kind of thing. None of that's in there. It's all just got tons of dream journals, guys, stacked up, right? And you know what? The information in them dream journals, you wouldn't believe it, guys, because I was already familiar with using my dreams. You know what I mean, right? Anyway. Let's jump to the future, right? Jump to the future. I've got tons of books, tons of dreams documented, right? And I'd like to discuss it at some point in an open forum or something about, you know, what you know, other people, what they dream about and that, like. But I've learned I can define dreams, guys. If someone tells me they've had a dream or something, I can usually work it out, what it means, right? Because of my own history of sussing dreams out, right? So let's jump to the future. And a particular dream I had, right, and it's written down in one of my journals. It's probably written down in one of my journals, right? But the amazing thing is, it's easy to trace the date without the diary or the journal, because it was a particular night where one of my friends knocked on my door when I was having the dream, right? I was in a kind of state of, like a kind of drunken stupor, right, guys? I'll be honest, right? And it was 1999, right? So we're talking 20 years ago, aren't we, folks? We're talking a good 20 years ago. Is that right, that? 1990? Yeah, about 21 years ago, isn't it, right? And this is a dream from 21 years ago, right? Now, remember, bearing in mind, I learned that 10 years after, something in the dream materialises in your real world, right? It's just a fact, guys. It's not my assumption. These are facts. It's all to do with the pineal gland and all that kind of stuff, isn't it, you know? Right? Well, anyway, one night, this was a significant night for me because it was 1999. I was living alone in a house in Birkenhead that someone else was a landlord who I knew, and I rented the house off him, and he let me, you know, stay in the house for a short while, right? And that's where I was living at the time, in this house on my own, right? And you know when you're single and you're lonely and there's no, you know, you feel hard done to because you can't find honest women and stuff like that. 1999, I'd been celibate for like by then I'd been celibate for about, maybe 5, 6, 7 years maybe. Do you know what I mean? And no, whenever Valentine's Day comes around and you're on your own, you kind of, I'm not saying you feel bad about it, you don't really mind really, you know, but you do feel a bit dejected, don't you, when it comes around to Valentine's Day and you're watching everyone, like, you know, talking about romance and giving each other flowers and everything. You're sitting there like a depressed, tortured soul alone in your house doing nothing, you know what I mean? And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, this is pissing me off, this Valentine's Day, so I'm going to go out and get a drink. And I had a can of Guinness that I'd left. You know, I'd had like cans of Guinness the night before, right? So I was drinking quite a bit at the time. I was quite fat, let's put it that way. Like I was kind of putting a bit of weight on, right? Because I was drinking a lot of Guinness, right? And, you know, because I was kind of depressed, I'll be honest. And 1999 was the year I started reading the Bible, by the way, guys. I didn't want to read the Bible. I didn't want to know a Bible because of King James and all those things, right? Okay, I'll be honest, right? Well, I did decide to start studying it that year, like, you know what I mean? Right, the scriptures, right? The scriptures. So I found out these things in 1999, 2000, 2001 was by the time I'd read the Bible and studied it. I'm thinking, oh my word, all those things were in there and no one told me. I never knew all this, that it was connected to dreams and visions and all that kind of stuff. I honestly thought the Bible was a con because all the rich folks keep it to themselves and that, you know. But anyway, gets to this night. It's I'll tell you the night because I could trace it because one of my friends knocked on the door while I was out cold and he'd just come back from a concert in Liverpool to see a band, you know, the band Yes, right? It was the same night that this lad, who I knew, he was going to see the band in Liverpool, you know, the band Yes, and they were on the, let's see, it was 1999, it was the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, 1999, right? So my dream was it was quite early on as well, it wasn't in the early hours, it was on the night of the 14th of the 2nd, right, St. Valentine's Day, right? And the Ladder Tour, it was called. Yes, we're doing a tour called the Ladder Tour, right? And they were playing in the Empire in Liverpool. And that's where someone I knew went to see them, right? And that's how I can trace the date line, because I remember being in my sleep dreaming and he was knocking on the door outside because he'd just come back from the concert. He'd got off the train and he decided to knock on mine because I lived in Birkenhead, not far from the train station, right? And that's how I remember the night and everything. But I must have wrote it down in the dream journal, or I wrote it on a piece of paper, you know what I'm saying? So I had to, you know, as long as I know the date, because I can do the 10 years after factor, you see, you know what I'm saying? Like, so anyway, it's 1999. I'm sitting there depressed. He hasn't called yet. This is like early on in this sort of tea time, evening time. And I'm sitting there thinking it's Valentine's Day. And I'm sitting here miserable on my own. And strangely enough, I had one can of Guinness, right? I had a can of Guinness. And I'd never really drank whiskey, guys, you get me? Like, I wasn't used to drinking strong spirits. Apart from Pernod. I loved Pernod. And Ouzo, you know, the aniseed type flavoured drinks. And I'd never really dabbled in drinking heavy liquor or spirits, you know what I mean, guys? And I was quite depressed at the time. I was worse than I am now, you know what I mean? I was still getting over my mental illness and that kind of thing, right? And I went to the shops and thought, I'm going to buy a drink. I'm going out to get it. I had a can of Guinness, like I say, in me house. There's a can of Guinness on the floor left from the night before. And I thought, I'll just get something really strong and get myself wellied, because I was just depressed about Valentine's Day, you know what I mean? I know it's silly now, like, but at the time I took it quite seriously, right, guys? Not now, you know what I mean? Now I don't give a shit, you know? Valentine's Day is just a money day now, you know what I mean? But at the time I wasn't wise to it. I still hadn't read the Bible, do you understand? Still haven't read the actual information in the Bible, right? Which is kind of essential, isn't it? Once you've got a grip on it and it's in retro and in your mind and you can analyse it, it's very useful, right? It's not talking religiously. This has got nothing to do with any, you know, like I say, even King James ain't welcome in my world, you know what I mean? Right? But anyway, I went to the off licence. I went to the shop around the corner to buy some beer or whatever. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have some whiskey. You know, I don't know why. I don't know what made me do it, but I thought, I'm going to try out some whiskey and see how it goes, like, you know. And I bought a little, you know, a half bottle of whiskey. The sort of small half bottle whiskey is about £5 or whatever it was. 10 quid or something. I don't know, about £8 or something. Little bottle of Bell's whiskey, right? Little bottle of Bell's it was. I went to the shop and I thought, I'm just going to drink it straight. I wasn't used to it, you know what I mean, guys? I thought, well, I don't know what it's going to do to me. And I don't know, I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a death wish or nothing like that. But I'll be honest, guys, I was lonely. I didn't have a relationship. And I used to be in a state of mind that if my body's found and unflated in my flat, rotting away on the sofa, I didn't care. Okay, guys, back then I just did not care, right? So anyway, I gets back to me pad. I didn't tell all my relatives all this when it was all going on. I just kept it all to myself, you know what I mean? I was really down, but I was keeping it all inside, right, guys? This is why I feel so good today. Today, this day and age, I feel so happy and, you know, compared to the way I was then, like. And anyone who tries to harass me or do my head in this modern world, when after all the crap I've been through, man, they don't half drive me up the wall, you know what I mean? They make me violent, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm sitting there. I gets back in with this bottle of whiskey, dead excited, thinking I'm going to down this. And it was a bit like Nicolas Cage in Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas. You know, when he downs a bottle of whiskey in the cinema. I don't know if anyone's seen that scene where he just drinks the whole half bottle in one go. Well, I didn't do that, you know what I mean? But anyway, I sat down. I was like straight shots going. And it hit me, it kicked in, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, wow, I feel good, I like this, you know. I wasn't used to being like, you know, I've got a bit of Scottish blood, I've got like Celtic blood, you understand? So I was thinking, whoa, I'm loving this whiskey, like, you know, it warmed me up and I started feeling the buzz, right, guys, yeah. Loving it, you know, I can go through a whole bottle of whiskey in one night, guys, you know what I mean? And still wake up the next day, you know what I'm saying, like. Now, you know, after that, I did learn how to drink whiskey, you know. But anyway, I'm sitting there enjoying me, you know, the half bottle of whiskey. I'm thinking, it's more than enough. I mean, it's dead strong. It's like 30-something%. Starting to kick in and that, right? And I actually finished the bottle, right, guys, quite quickly. You know, the bottle was gone quite quick. Half bottle of whiskey was gone. And it was the first time I was ever drinking a large amount of whiskey to myself, right, guys? And ladies, if you're watching, if there are any females watching, you know what I mean? I'll say guys. When I say guys, I mean collectively everyone watching, okay? So anyway, the drink kicks in. I'm a bit pissed by now, you know what I mean? The depression's left me. I'm thinking, oh, I don't give a shit about Valentine's Day. I feel like, why should I be bothered about all that, you know what I mean? Any chicks who do want to miss out on a cool dude like me, it's their loss, isn't it, right? Their loss. But we're getting to the dream now, right, guys? And what I did was, I looked at, because I just finished the half bottle of whiskey, right? I felt cool, and I felt like sort of, ooh, I'll have a nice sleep tonight, you know? And I didn't expect anyone to be trying to knock on the door. Wasn't expecting my friend to be coming from the Yes concert, right? In the Empire Theatre in Liverpool, right? But he's the only reason I can trace the date, because he knocked on the door, and I was out cold, couldn't move, I was paralysed, right, folks? But anyway, what I did was, I looked at the can of Guinness. Do you get me? Like, I was, oh, I've still got the can of Guinness. I forgot about that. And I downed the can of Guinness, you know what I mean? I drank that, right? And, the infusion of Guinness and whiskey, you know what I mean? Once they sort of boom in my system. Not, like, at the time, I didn't care if anyone found a dead body the next day. Do you understand, guys? I was very depressed. I was keeping it all inside. I was on antidepressants and everything. I was in a bad way, you know what I mean? I used to take Stellazines. Has anyone ever checked out Stellazines? You've ever seen the film, The 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis? And there's a scene where he's in like a hospital and he's actually foaming at the mouth, like spit and saliva dripping out of his mouth. And they actually mention it in the film. His name's Bruce, you know what I mean? His name's Bruce, right? And he's this character who's going crazy, isn't he? And he meets Brad Pitt and he's off his head, right? But there's a little scene in it where they go, we've given like a huge dose of Stellazines, right? And I was like, oh my word, Stellazines, that's what I was on when I was mental, like, that was my antidepressant was, Stellazines. They don't sell them anymore, guys. It's been changed to olanzapines, do you understand? Stellazines, you can't even get them anymore because they had side effects, right, So I was taking this stuff, like, as well as drinking, do you get me, right? Which isn't a good thing, right? And I was lying there, I was sitting on my sofa watching the television by the time I was drinking the Guinness, thinking, ooh, this is kicking in, it's going to knock me out, you know what I mean, right? And then all of a sudden, like a hammer, I was out cold on the sofa, right? And I mean, like, out cold, couldn't even move, paralysed, right? Paralysed. Now, here's the dream I had, right, guys? I don't think I would have had this dream if it wasn't for me drinking whiskey for the first time. Do you understand? This is the significance. Some of these drinks can actually help bring things out of your recesses of your mind, as long as you don't become alcoholics or whatever, right? It can be useful. Do you understand? Tinctures as well. Whiskey's like a tincture to some people. It goes into your bones. If you've ever drank a large amount of whiskey, right, guys, you might feel ill a couple of days or a bit rough. When you feel it going into your bones, it's unbelievable, you know what I mean? It's a tincture, right? That's what the little prize is at the end of whiskey, like. But, if you can handle the effect and not smash your house up or be a complete lunatic alcoholic, like. But I was really off my head, thinking, I actually thought I was going to die that night, to be honest, because of this dream, right? So anyway, I slipped off into the dream, right? And this is the dream I had, right? And I want people to listen to what I say about the dream and tell me what you think. I want people's... I know what I think, right? But I'm not going to talk about that. But I want your opinions on what I've seen in this dream, right, guys? And it's the significance is I'd mixed Guinness with whiskey for the first time, right? There's a lot of people out there been doing that for years. Some people get a pint of Guinness in pubs, yeah. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't do it to save my life, mate. And they get like a double shot of whiskey and pour it in the top of the Guinness and then drink the Guinness with the whiskey in it. No way, mate. But that's what I think was happening to me. I was cross wires with someone who mixes Guinness with whiskey, right? That was what happened, like. So anyway, I went into this deep sleep, right? And then this is the dream, right? Let's get to the dream. I'm sitting in this chair, right? And I was talking to someone in a room. I can't remember who it was. I was just talking to someone in a room. And on beside me, on the table beside me, right? There was like a brown paper bag. Like what, when you used to go to the fruit and veg stores or groceries in the 70s and they give you a brown paper bag, before plastic or whatever, like before the plastic bags and stuff. Brown paper bag was right next to me on a table, right? And I looked at the brown paper bag and I was like, what's in that there? What's in that brown paper bag? And I picked it up and I rummaged in the bag and I pulled out a pomegranate, right? And now I hardly ever buy pomegranates, right, folks? I think I can count, I've probably ate about 4 pomegranates in my entire life, let's put it that way. I'm not too sure, like, right? Because I'm not really into pomegranates, but they're very healthy, aren't they, right? Now, pomegranates, they're the national emblem of Spain, right? This is, to me, I'll just go a little bit into explaining what I see in it like. Pomegranates are the national emblem of Spain, right? Spain, people, we get, it's a bum steer when we say Spain, because it's España, isn't it, right? It's España. When people speak Spanish, they say España, right? They've invented the word Spain so that you don't see the word Pan, right? You know, Pan, the so-called god of music, right? The so-called god of music. He made a panpipe by accident or whatever, or he heard the wind blowing in a bottle. You know, when you have a bottle or a vessel, some kind of vase or something, and the wind blows and it goes, ooh. That's all Pan did, mate. He discovered that wind can make a, you know, musical note or whatever, like, you know, something like that, isn't it, right? Now, pandemic, right, folks, you know, pandemic. What's a pandemic? What's happening today? A pandemic, right? Where does the word pan come from? The so-called god of music. Ooh, god of music. Ooh, isn't that a big one, eh, guys? He knows how to play a panpipe, right? Now, when you say Spain, we forget about it, but there's pain, isn't it? Pain, pan, sadomasochism, I don't know, all those elements, pain, pan, right? Pan, he's like a devil, isn't he? We all know that. He's a fawn, he's a little horned devil, isn't he? Pan, right? Well, anyway, I look at this in the dream, get back to the thing, I just thought I'd just remind you that there's a pandemic going on, you know what I mean? Right. I looked at this pomegranate, right, and thought, wow, I don't need pomegranates, but I've got a pomegranate in my hand, right. Really graphic this was, guys. This was lucid and graphic, this dream. It was like I was there, but I was out cold on my sofa, you know, and I was well out the game, right. I'm looking at this pomegranate, which is a fruit, isn't it, right? For starters, it's a fruit, right? And it's the emblem, national emblem of Spain. Pan, España, Panya. Pan's Labyrinth, you know the movie Pan's Labyrinth? Isn't that Spanish in Spanish subtitles? See, they're actually admitting that they're connected to Pan in Spain. It's named after him, España, that's what it is, right? Now, we all know what the Spanish did to everyone, you know, the conquistadors, the Mayan Indians, the Aztecs, the Incas or whatever. They were all screwed by the Spanish, weren't they, you know what I mean, right? They took so much gold that they ended up ruining the economy of Spain for years. Spain had to have aluminium coins right up until the 80s, 90s, because they'd ruined the economy when they went round robbing all the Indians, you know what I mean? Right, the indigenous people, right? So we know there's kind of a devilish thing in Spain. No two ways about it. There's good stuff in Spain, the Moors or whatever, right? That's the original people from that land, the Moors. They're more like Arabic, aren't they? You know, dark skin, dark haired, right? But anyway, I'm looking at this pomegranate, right? And it gets really eerie, right? You know the music in the Omen, or you know that like da 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 da. You know that kind of bombastic orchestral music, right? I started hearing this orchestral music in my head. It was like right next to my head. It was like, you know, like a horror film, guys, like a horror film, right? I'm not exaggerating. It was like a movie score of a horror film in my head. And it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't hearing an orchestra. It was like it was accompanying what I was seeing in my dream, if you know what I mean. Real horrible, morbid, scary, bombastic music going, right? And I'm just looking at this pomegranate, right? I mean, I've never had a dream like this before or since, because I don't normally mix whiskey with Guinness, do you know what I mean, folks? But I'm looking at this pomegranate, right, and the music goes like, do, 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 and I'm thinking, what's going on here? It's just a pomegranate, you know what I mean? Right, and then I sort of turn it round, and then I notice there's a hole in it, right, like a little hole in it. You know when you buy an apple or you know, an orange from a fruit shop and it's going off, or there's a bug in it, right? You know what they call a bug or a grub, right? A grub, a Beelzebub, right? A Beelzebub, right? That's what Beelzebub is, Lord of the Flies. Anything that's in a grub form, you know what I mean? Anything that starts off as a grub, right? You know, caterpillars are kind of friendly grubs, aren't they? You know, caterpillars and that, like. But you know what I mean, a grub. I'm holding this pomegranate, I see the hole in it, right? And I go, oh, is there something in that hole there? You know what I mean? There's like a little hole in the pomegranate. So it was inside the pomegranate, feeding on what was inside the pomegranate, right? I sort of sit back, and I'm looking at it. And next thing, something falls out of the hole, and it looks like a maggot, right? It falls out of the hole, this maggot, like it just looked like an ordinary white maggot, right, guys? As the maggot falls out, it hits me leg on me pants, on me jeans. Hits like me thigh. It bounces off me thigh and then lands on the floor in between me feet. Right. And I look down and I was like, that's a maggot, isn't it? That's a little maggot. A grub, a Beelzebub, whatever you want to call it. The fly, you know what I mean? Whatever insect it was meant to be, it was a grub of some kind. And I looked down at it. It was like the music intensified as I looked at this. It's sort of like it went intensified as the grub fell out and landed off my leg and on the floor, right? And I bent down and I was looking up close at the grub thinking, what is it, man? And it was wobbling on the floor, you know, wiggling on the floor like a little white grub, wiggling on the floor, right? And the music was going, it's really intense, right? And remember, I'm giant size compared to it, right? I'm like a normal sized man, and that's just the size of a little Beelzebub grub, like, you know. I looks down at it closely, right? And it in front of my eyes, while I was looking at it on the floor, right? The only way I can describe it is from a little worm, from a maggot, like what maggots of flies look like. It went from a maggot, and it's like then it like sprouted two little legs there, and sprouted two little back legs. Like it actually sprouted four little legs right in front of me on the floor, right? And it sort of like, and it was basically saying, I've got to escape, I've got to escape. Do you understand? Sprouted these little legs, and then a little head appeared on it, right? And you know what it looked like on the floor? A little pig. Like an actual, imagine a pig that big. You know, the size of a maggot. A tiny little pig. And I looked close in it, and the music went even more intense. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with a demon called Behemoth. And Behemoth is the pig spirit, or the pig demon. Behemoth is what makes people greedy or like gluttonous, you know what I mean? It's a grub in your body that tries to take over your life, and it wants you to be gluttonous and greedy, right? Because it'll end up ruining your life. It makes you know what I mean? It makes you incapable of doing things, doesn't it, eventually? If I ate 1,000 pizzas, you know what I mean? I'm going to end up can't do nothing, because all Behemoth wants to do is turn you into a glutton and take over your body, you know what I mean, right? So anyway, this little bug thing, it turns into a pig on the floor. It was a real little pig on the floor, right? Shaked its legs. It was still lying on its side, you know what I mean? And I could see its little head, little pig. That's why nowadays I just think maggots are pigs now, you know what I mean? Or I just look at pigs now and I just think they're just big, giant maggots, mate. Do you know what I mean? I just see pigs as big, giant maggots. I don't eat pork anymore, you know what I mean? I've learnt a lot of things, right? Now, have you ever seen a clip on YouTube where they put Coca-Cola on a slice of pork and leave it, and a load of maggots come out of it? Check it out, guys, and think about what Coca-Cola is promoted to do. Everyone's told to drink loads of Coca-Cola. If that can do that to a piece of pork, like a steak, imagine what's doing inside people. Do you understand? I'm trying to wake people up and say, you know, get into spring water or whatever, you know what I mean? Even beer, you know. But, like, Coca-Cola brings maggots out of pork, guys. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? The connection. The maggot, the fly, and the pig. If you've ever watched it on YouTube, check it out. Coca-Cola on pork and see what it does. It's vile. Tons of maggots start appearing from nowhere, right? So I see this little maggot on the floor turn into a pig, and it was like that. It was like wobbling and shaking and it actually it was looking up at me like that, like to say, "Oh, I've got to get away, I've got to get away," right? And he actually stood up on his four legs, right? And he started like attempting to run away, right? And this is where Duke comes in, right? You know, the dog. Remember, Duke was dead by then, 1999. He was long gone, right? But he was still communicating with me from his own little, you know, man. I've tried to tell people how important that dog was for like sussing things out, right? Well, next thing, I'm looking at the little maggot, the little pig on the floor, and it's trying to run away. The music is still intensifying, and I mean like gory, you know, gory music, like. I'm thinking, it's just a maggot. You know, what's all this music about? It was really intense, really powerful. It went to run away. Next thing, I see a little, like that big, a little Duke. You know, the dog Duke I just showed you pictures of last night and stuff. I see him come running in like a little miniature dog, right? He grabs hold of the pig by the scruff of the neck with his jaws, and he goes, and he was shaking the little pig in his mouth like that. And then he ran away with it, you know, as if to say, right, I'll take this and do what I want with it, you know what I mean? He ran away with the pig. The maggot pig thing, like. He ran away with the little Beelzebub. And I was like, oh my word, was that Duke? Then he just like ran away with the pig, yeah, right? And then the music went all intense. Next thing I know, I sort of came out of the dream, right? I came out of the dream because the lad who I knew was knocking on the door, you see. So that's what broke the dream. I was really intensified by it. I wanted to see where it takes me, where it goes. I wanted to see what that dream was leading to, do you know what I mean? But because, you know, when you hear someone knock on the door, well, this is the strange thing, right? There's a pomegranate in the dream, right? You know, Salvador Dali, have you ever seen his painting of the tigers? And it's actually called, you know that famous, we always say Salvador Dali, the tigers, right? And it's actually a painting of a pomegranate, isn't it? And really, the title of the painting, well, you know, the big picture of the tigers, and they're trying to attack a woman, aren't they? You know what I mean? Or one of the tigers is about to attack a woman who's dreaming, right? And the title of that picture by Salvador Dali is a bee flying around a pomegranate 1 second before awakening from a dream. And that the picture is, you know, the little bees flying around a pomegranate. And because the woman in the picture is dreaming, and that's what the tigers are and everything, she's seeing all this stuff in a dream, tigers and everything, because she can hear a bumblebee flying around a pomegranate next to it in a bed or whatever, like going, bzzz. And just that bumblebee flying around the pomegranate is creating that big illusion in her mind of the tigers coming to, you know, to destroy her or whatever, like, right? So the significance of Spain and pomegranates, right, and insects, right? And I was like lying there thinking, that's how the only way I can relate it to. It's like something surreal, something like prophetic or whatever, right? The dream, like telling me about something to do with Beelzebub and my own little dog, you know, my own dog running away with him, right? You know, he caught him by the scruff of the neck. I always say in my head, even, you know, no matter who's doing my head, and that dog will get them one day, you know what I mean? Because he's still out there, right? So I'm lying on my bed, and I remember hearing the door knocking, right? And I could hear someone go, Bruce, are you in? Because my lights were on and everything, and he knew it was in the living room, but I was on the sofa, and the Guinness and the whiskey had rendered me paralysed, you know what I mean? I couldn't move and get off the sofa and open the door. I would have opened the door and said, all right, man, how's it going, you know? But anyway, he told me a couple of days later, I knocked on yours. I was on the way home from the Yes concert, like, which gave me the, you know, 1999 Valentine's Day, 2nd of February Valentine's Day, you know what I mean? That's how I remember the dream, the date, because he went to that Yes concert, right? So I'm lying there paralysed. I can't open the door. And then he got off, right? You know, he obviously walked away. And then I just drifted off back to sleep, and I had a normal sleep and a normal dream because I was quite intoxicated. I wouldn't have, but because he disturbed the dream with knocking on the door, I would have seen a lot more, do you know what I mean? I was like, oh man, it was getting really intense, you know what I mean? But I'd like people's opinion, right? What, you know, if anyone watches this, you don't have to be, you know, me subbers or whatever, or anyone new that watches this, right? What do you think? I'd love to know what you, because it was intense. The music was loud. It was scary, guys. It was like something really morbid. Do you know what I mean? And I think that the dream was telling me, like, that's Beelzebub there, Bruce. That's him there. That you've got it. Like, fell out of a fruit. He falls out of a fruit, hits the deck, tries to escape as a pig, gets battered by a mad dog. You know what I mean? That's the story, isn't it? Gets battered by a mad dog, like. All right, man. I must seem like a right crazy. This sun is too. Have you ever noticed, guys, lately? Even if the sun is behind clouds, it's too bright to look at. Even with sunglasses on, shades or whatever, you look up it. I used to be able to look at the sun with no clouds there. You know, when there's no clouds, I used to be able to look at the sun and stare at it. You know what I mean? You can't even do it now when it's behind clouds. We're either too close to it or it's an artificial light bulb. You know what I mean? I think we're going, like I say, the earth is going through the pangs, you know, the labour pangs or whatever, or the birth pangs and that. Like, here's another thing, you know, the earth is on a wobble, guys. You know, when I said, you know, the axis has moved, right? So that, you know, if the axis moves, as we rotate, we could be like closer than we should be to the sun. And then during the winter time, further away than we should be from the sun, right? Extreme winters, extreme summers, right? Now, what does the Bible tell us? The scriptures. What does the scriptures tell us? Not King James, by the way, just the scriptures tells us that the earth will wobble to and fro like a drunken man. Think about that, man. You know when you see a fella walking in the street and they're drunk and they can't walk and they're nearly falling over? That's what the earth's doing now. It's actually, you've got to think about when it says wobble, it's like, eventually it's going to start going like that, guys. You know what I mean? It started doing that. It's going to start doing that, guys. You know what I mean? It's going to start wobbling. It wobble to and fro like a drunken man walks. You know, think about that, right? So I think I think the days of Noah are approaching, you know what I mean? I don't want to put a downer on everything and everything, because if you're a good soul, every good soul out there, you're going to have dreams and visions. It's going to remind you that something really special is going on, no matter how bad it gets, you know what I mean? Special, sacred. I don't like using the word special. CIA in the middle, like Central Intelligence Agency. That's what the word special is. It's just a disguise for the CIA, isn't it? All right, I'm getting off, right? Wonders what you think. I'll see if anyone's made any comments, by the way. I haven't even noticed. I forgot to look. Let's see. No one's made any comments. Right, so we've got like an anonymous viewer. You don't have to identify yourself, because I'm getting off now. Answers on a postcard, please. If anyone wants to put any comments below, anyone who's like new to my channel or whatever, who's interested in what I've got to talk about, I'll put a PayPal link in the comments section, right? And because I need to attempt to try and raise some cash and try and get a nice computer so I can make some really good quality videos. If I haven't already said enough on my channel, guys, I've said quite a lot, haven't I, on my channel, right? And some people might think, wow, there's a lot of crazy information there, and it's quite interesting. But I can tell you straight, guys, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Do you know what I mean? It's the tip of the iceberg. I've got tons to say, like, I've got tons to talk about. But it's gearing my head towards it, you know. I have to feel in the mood to talk, and I've been doing a lot of recording. I'm trying to make an album to try and maybe raise some money, you know. I don't know. It's really irrelevant, isn't it, if the earth's going to end soon, you know. I mean, a lot of people are saying to me, I'm waiting for the rapture, you know. That's exactly what it is, guys. There's a rapture coming. There's all kinds of things. But when you start having your dreams and visions and it blows your mind, you know, you'll know that things are starting to happen, man. You know, ordinary people, you don't have to be religious nuts. You don't have to be theologians. The least you know, the better, actually. You know what I mean? The least you know, the better. Because people who don't know the Bible and stuff like that, they're going to be like, blown away by it, you know what I mean? But that's what happened to me. It happened to me like 92, 93 or something. You know, the whole thing started accumulating. Like, I was walking around in college saying, Jesus is coming back, Jesus is coming back. That's what's going on, isn't it? That's what I was saying in 1991. Walking around that college where I used to work, you know, the typing college. I was walking around saying Jesus is coming back like a loon ball, mate. You know what I mean? You've got to realise, mate, sort of being... I wasn't even religious. I hadn't even read the Bible. And I'm saying that, like, Jesus is coming back. He's coming back. You know, it's the second coming or something, you know. Like Elijah or something, warning everyone, like, I don't know. All right, I'm getting off. I might be putting some more speeches up later. I've got a few things to talk about. But... remember what I said about Netflix, guys? NASA Flicks and stuff like that. The Fly, the advert, the picture from NASA Flicks. It looks like a fly. It looks like a bug, doesn't it? Looks like a bug, which would start off as a grub. Do you understand? There's something to do with grubs and Beelzebub and flies and stuff, you know. Plagues. I don't know. But we should be vigilant and aware. And while it's going on, we should enjoy ourselves. Get the beers in. Alright, I still haven't had a drink, you know what I mean? It's the weekend, I still haven't had a drink. I was going to go to the park and do a whole set, you know, record me set on my guitar in the park. But I'm out of practice with me playing, you know, my fingertips, all my pads have gone off my fingers and that, like, so I've got to start again and get right into it. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Anyone who's watching, watch right through. You can watch this replay later on and put in the comment section what you think I was dreaming about. I was seeing the end of Beelzebub, in my opinion. I don't know, but there's a connection to Spain, isn't there? You know, Pan, something to do with Pan. You understand? Pan, the god of music. You know, what a pile of baloney, eh, folks? All right, thanks for watching. I will be on a bit later on, showing some pictures and stuff. Got some things to show, hopefully. I just want to have me tea and maybe a little bit of practice on my guitar, and I'll be back on later. Alright, thanks for watching. See you later. Please tell me in the description what you think that dream means.